Okay, guys, hold on one second. Hello, hello. We've got Nic Redman here, and we've got a new book I'm not even going to pretend that I don't want to hear about this book. Normally, I'm like, I'm bringing them on the show because I can want to find out their motivation in life. And no, no, no. I want to hear about the book, and because it's so exciting. And you know what's? Oh, I should probably do an intro, and then I will hand over with the first question. You guys know the rules. And if you don't know the rules, I'll say them again. We're not doing the Google search questions on this call. We're only doing questions that aren't normal ones. So quirky questions welcome to be part of the conversation, but let's be fun. And I want to hear all about Nic's book. If you weren't on the earlier calls, we've been on twice, haven't you? Have you been on twice now?
I think maybe.
I think you've been on
Probably not.
twice. Huh? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you've been on twice because Nic is, oh, they're coming in fast. Okay, Nic is, not only is she, I mean, the best voiceover coach, oh my God, but she's like a specialist in accents and dialects. And I took her like master class, but it was really hardcore when they start pulling out the charts of like your body parts, like it's hardcore stuff. And she's got like one of the most popular Facebook groups out there where people get on and they talk everything vocal related. And she's um, a famous, she was a famous stand-up comedian, and her husband still is. You are. Well, you're famous to me
I
because
don't know about famous.
you're famous. You're the only one I've ever known, so you're famous to me.
Yeah.
and, and she has written a book that had a massive impact immediately upon its release, and everyone's so excited about it. And the buzz everywhere is like just amazing. But that's partly because of you, because you are, as my mother would say, and this is a massive compliment, you are a character. You're the person everyone wants to be in your atmosphere
Oh,
because you're one of those people. Yeah, I bet you've always been one of those people, even when you were a kid, haven't you?
I don't know. It's hard to. I mean, I was never short of friends, but I think I was probably a bit flighty. I probably had more friends than I needed to. Do you know what I mean? Like I had friends in dancing and friends at swimming and friends at school and friends in theater and friends in music and friends like, you know what I mean? I was just like, people, community, I'm in.
I can see that about you. And you're still like that, though, aren't you? You've got like
Yeah.
20,000 Facebook friends. And oh, and she has a really successful, massive podcast. And if you haven't heard it already, where can they find your podcast?
So I've got two. The Voiceover Social podcast,
Right.
which is on all of the platforms, which is the award-winning one. It's no big deal. And then
No big deal.
it won the Inspiration Award at one point.
As
It's
you,
no big
as you do.
And then the other one is my solo podcast, which is called the Voice Coach Podcast. And that's like little snippets just taking you through the voice training process, episode by episode. And again, that's everywhere. If you go to my website, Nicola Redman, I don't know how I went all AI then, nicolaredman.com, you'll find everything under resources.
Okay,
Resources.
I want to jump right into my burning question. Where did you always want to write a book? Where did you get the idea? Was just like you woke up at 3 a.m. and went, wait, that's it. I want to write a book. Or was it like, I don't have the nerve to do this, and you bored every family relative for 20 years? Tell me the story about your baby that you've created here, and then tell me what the driving force behind it is and what you're most proud about it.
So the answer to the first bit of that is no. I didn't always want to write a book. In fact, I definitely shied away from it. So my training as a voice practitioner, when I was on my master's studying voice and technique of voice and how to teach voice and accents and all that kind of stuff, I was very privileged.
Wait, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but remind me, are you I'm going to get this word wrong, so please don't laugh loudly. Are you a
So
pedagog?
pedagogy is like the art of teaching.
Right.
So we had pedagogy lessons on
Okay.
our masters in relation to teaching voice. So that's one of the things I'm proudest of as a voiceover coach is
Right.
that my master's degree encompassed coaching skills and teaching skills. You know, it's not just a I'll do a bit of coaching because I can. It's like I have a master's degree in how to coach, which I'm really proud of as a voiceover coach. So the book, yeah. So on that course, when I did, it's okay. I was like, I got to work with everyone who'd written books, like all of the greats in the coaching industry. Like I got to work with Sis Berry before she died, and Kristen Linklater before she died, and Barbara Houseman, who's still wonderfully alive, and all these incredible people who have written the books that have paved the way and laid the groundwork for voice coaching as a career, like as a legitimate thing that's needed and necessary and important. And I worked with them all, most of them, which was just the most amazing thing. So of course I was like, I can't write a book. Like Cicely Berry wrote a book. Kristen Linklater, I can't write a book. I'm just Nic. So
that's like being in a show with Laurence Olivier and going, you know, what do you say? Because I mean, they are the big.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, no, I mean, following in the footsteps of giants type thing, I was like, no way. Plus, from my, you know, in my early coach days, they were like super intelligent and like, for me, just academically and research wise and all that kind of stuff, just straight ahead. I was like, oh, no, I don't want to write a book. I can't string 2 sentences together on a page. I'll just be a coach. I'll be a coach. That's great. So I, you know, went to drama school and I did about 5 years working with hundreds of different voices and teaching all kinds of things like voice and text and chorus work and accents and audio, voice for audio and all this kind of stuff, and learned loads. And then I set, you know, at the same time set up my one-to-one practice and started working with people individually. And then I set up workshops, and I was just doing as much as I could. You know, in the start of any career, you just do anything. And then the pandemic happened and my community grew, the Voice and Accent Hub on Facebook. And I got a little bit more of an international reputation. You know, a few more people from America or various other places started to follow me, which was lovely. And then my profile grew a wee bit and my experience grew even more and constantly learning and doing more courses to be a better coach and a better voice person. And then I, in my pursuit of trying to give everybody else, disseminate all the information I know, I'm always recommending books to people. So if you do my course, I'll be like, well, this quote from this amazing, if you do the vocal empowerment program, which is the course that I'm filling at the moment, it's like, this bit is inspired by this person in this book, and this quote is from this amazing book. And I have, you know, many books around me that I always recommend. And eventually my clients were like, where's your book? And I was like, I can't write sentences. I don't understand grammar. I'm not doing a book. And they were like, you need to write a book. And I was like,
yeah, I can see that. Because we're asking you questions, because even when you're not coaching, I know we kind of touched on this before the call, you are literally answering questions 24 hours a day. Every time I turn around, somebody's asking you another question online or this and that. And the amount of time you're putting into that, it just makes sense to disseminate it into one place.
Yeah. Well, that's why I started writing doing the podcast, right? So that's where the voice podcast came from. Let's call that my first book distraction project.
But in my experience, do you find that no matter how many times you say, oh, look back at that podcast, people don't actually do it? They kind of they'll watch the podcast for fun when they come to it and want to come to it. But I thought it would be a tool to say, oh, this will answer your question. Go to so-and-so on their podcast. But they were like, oh, can't you just tell me really quickly here?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, for me, it's a marker of whether somebody's ready to do the work or not. So if someone comes to me with coaching and they say, hello, I'm interested in coaching, I'm having this and this problem. Now, my first response is, listen to these 4 episodes, go through them, and then we'll talk. So it's about some of the ones that I end up working with mostly do, if we've gone through that process. Some people listen to the podcast or don't listen and bugger off and I never hear from them again. And maybe that's because they go, she's a bit mad, she's not the coach for me, which is another reason the podcast is really useful, because they get a bit of an idea from the vibe, right? Because look, everybody's not for everybody, and that's fine. But some people come back and they go, oh, that episode was really interesting. I discovered this and this. And then I go, right, you're ready. Let's talk about one-to-one, and let's talk about how you're ready for that investment, because for some people, it's a decent wedge of money, because it's all bespoke and all completely, it's not like some, generic curriculum that everyone works through. It's all bespoke. every single session is just for the person I'm with in that space. And that's what one-to-one's about. That's why it's expensive. Anyway, so I did the podcast, and that gave me 80 odd episodes of answers to questions I get a lot. Now, my method for writing the podcast was word for word, script it, because some of it's anatomy and some of it's research and facts, and it needed to be right and accurate. So I would just write it. And then about a year and a half in, I suddenly realized, oh, I think
You've got a book.
There is a book in some way. Like I find a structure, or I think I am worthy of this, actually. I just have to find a way to write it that works for me, because I'm not like, chapter 1, when we look at that, like it just wasn't going to work for me. So then I was like, oh, okay, let's fiddle it. And then I got distracted myself with the voice deck, which was the card deck that I created of like vocal warm-ups. And that was a 3 a.m. idea. My husband was like, will you stop researching GSM for paperweight and just write the book? I was like,
but I saw that voice deck thing everywhere too. I think you're a marketing genius. I don't know why, because I've got to be honest with you, at this point, I am having a really hard time retaining or noticing anything. I'm in between trying to keep up my own schedule. Mm-hmm. Some dear friends have done like quite important things for, and I've with the best intentions, wanted to like go back, and I've literally forgotten, but your stuff sticks in my mind. So did you have a marketing background at all, or does it just come naturally to you?
Okay, here's my theory behind it. I think I have an Irish background. I do have an Irish background. What Irish people do is we talk to people. Yeah. And I think most Irish people and other cultures, I'm sure, have their version of this, but Irish people are very like solution driven and passionate, and like you need to know the answer, like, and if I got the answer, come here, like I'll give you the answer, like, and Irish people are all about community, and it takes a village, and that very traditional kind of come on in, look, and we'll sort you out kind of situation. And I just wonder if in certain spheres online, that's something that is a bit refreshing, like I don't feel it's tough, and it's hard going from being a coach and a voiceover to be also being a marketeer. But I think my way through it was always knowing that at the root of it, what I have works, and it's grounded in insane amounts of effort on my part, from research and learning and my own understanding, plus hours and hours of working with different voices all over the world in all these different contexts. So like, I know it works. And I think that's what makes marketing easy from my point of view.
You back it up with the experience, the knowledge, and the quality, and then you present it as a gift, because you are mad passionate about everything you do.
Yeah, and I can answer to all my decisions for everything and every exercise, and I can tell you who influenced me. And like, I'm not selling snow to Eskimos. I'm not trying to take the piss out of, I swear. Trying to take the mick out of people, but like
I missed this. Oh, is it piss?
Yeah.
Is that a swear word? That's not a swear word, is it?
I'm a 6-year-old and I swear a lot. My husband's always like, will you stop swearing? My son has like called one of his Pokemon the F word on the computer, and I'm like, oh God, that's my fault. I did that, but well done, son. Well fucking done. So I think the point for me is that like, I was really excited because I was quite good at finding little gaps for things that I could fill, I could fill honestly and openly, and that I believed in. And also I now have the social proof to back it up, as they say in marketing. So like the testimonials and the thank yous and the client stories and the reviews that show that what I do and the experience I have is useful for people.
I mean, the amount of content you give, even in that one accent course, the amount of content you offer is mind-blowing. I mean, I was a failure. I'm gonna just put my hand up. What's that show with John Travolta? I was a voice school dropout.
That's okay.
Because I found there was so much. Like, I felt like, and then you also did this, didn't you? Retreats. I felt like I would have needed to have left my life for a week.
I think that's funny enough, I think that's one of the balances. It's hard as a coach when you're trying to give value. And at the start, I definitely give too much probably in too intense a time. I think I was
I don't think
trying.
it's too much, though. I think it's up to the student. If you really want to learn something passionately, you take what you
Yeah,
can from
maybe.
it.
Everybody's different. And the nice thing about the online courses, and anybody that does an online course with me can access it for as long as they want. At least now, the way it's set up, I've been able to invest in some better back office stuff and some online portal software. So if you do the vocal empowerment program, for example, which is like the 6-week course, you can view that forever, over and over
Yeah,
again, as until the technology implodes.
yeah.
So, it's about, and I'm working with somebody one to one who did the vocal empowerment program a couple of times ago, and she's now redoing it and having one to ones with me because she's now starting an MA in voice because she's obsessed with it.
And what
So,
kind of things are they working on? Understanding the anatomy and dynamics of the voice, or I mean, is that the focus?
so that course, that course is focused. I mean, the unofficial silly tagline is "Become your own voice coach." So, my entire remit as a coach is saying, "I'm going to give you all the stuff I think you need, potentially day to day, to make sure your voice is efficient and clear and safe, but also expressive and varied, and with loads of range and access to resonance and emotion and connection for your audience, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to give you all the tools so you can do it so you don't need me,"
Yeah,
basically,
yeah,
to a degree. What tends to happen is people then book one to ones because they want to learn more, which is great.
yeah.
But it's basically like, well, we do loads on awareness. So raising your awareness of your voice and your body, what's happening, loads on alignment, releasing physical tension, the breath. So having enough breath for sentences, working, how you can reduce noisy in breaths and how you can feel, that nice low diaphragmatic breath that everyone bangs on about, how you can make sure that you've got loads of variety and expression in your voice, so you're not monotone or nasal or whatever it is some rude person might have said you are. Finding loads of that. Also clarity and articulation, yet still trying to retain who you are and what it is you offer in narration or whatever. And actually, with the narrators that come on that course from voiceover, as in audiobook narrators specifically, really love the bits about resonance and articulation, because it's all about manipulation of your instrument to find variety, which is really useful to have for audiobooks. So
Yeah.
whether you can have a couple of characters that are more nasally resonant, a couple of characters with like a higher tongue position or a wider mouth or a lower jaw, all those tiny little manipulations that you can do really easily and tangibly because you can feel them. When you know your voice and you know your instrument, you can do it like that and you can find all kinds of variety.
And then they can turn it into muscle memory, right? Because
Yeah.
that's to
Yeah.
me the hardest part is getting instruction and then like I don't want to have to think about it in the booth. I want it
Yeah.
to
So,
be,
yeah. And I think when it comes to character voicing, it's about being able to anchor the voices in something that feels tangible so that you can go back to them if you need to, so it is the lip placement or the tongue or the jaw or the resonance feeling for you, whether it feels like you're dropping the larynx so you get a kind of more hooty sound for that character, or whether it's a little bit twangier and they're maybe slightly more up in the nose. So it's you going, God, that person appeared 15 chapters ago. What the hell did this? You can go, oh, that person was this and that person was that. If you know your voice, you know your articulators and you know the vocal tract and you know how it all works, you've got so much potential to find all these amazing things. And that's what the vocal empowerment program is about. It's about helping you know loads about what you've got to play with so that you can play with it and feel empowered and confident to explore. That's
so
basically the core.
I have a question. I really need to return her email. Like a year ago, I took a singing lesson or two just because I wanted to see if I could sing because I was pretty sure I couldn't. Um, and she said to me something and I never had ever considered it. I'm wondering if in your coaching, because you're a professional coach, if you have to take this into account. She said that I'm a visual person. So she taught me that if I do this, and if I want my voice to go higher, if I do it, it's not, I can't remember completely, but that
Yeah.
I see and it helps me, which explains to me my leopard print faux fur booth. You know what I mean? I guess maybe I am, but do you have to take into account when you're teaching people whether they are more visual, whether they hear things more, whether do you suss that and just intuitively, or do you actually think about it and adjust the way you teach?
It's probably more intuitive now than explicit from my point of view because I've been doing it for so long. But yeah, there used to be a whole kind of learning theory that you are a visual learner, or you are an aural learner, or you are a kinesthetic feeling learner. And it used to be like, you are in one box. But the more up-to-date research now is this idea that actually most of us learn in all kinds of ways. It's just some of them make it easier for us to attach and learn particular things. So, and yeah, it becomes relatively easier, straightforward to tell what kind of a learner someone is because of the questions they ask you, or because of how they take on your information, or because of what they do, So some people will like instinctively, and their hand will just go up, and I'll go, okay, that could be a mix of visual and kinesthetic. I'm seeing it, but also I'm feeling up when I go. Or some people will go and close their eyes, and that's them kind of introspectively maybe feeling a little bit more of what's happening in there, but giving themselves, I'm not seeing anything here, but my finger might still go up and down. Everybody does things differently. So and this is the joy and the privilege of having had pedagogy training, is that you learn.
It sounds like a priest or something. It trips.
All right. Oh,
it's just one of those words.
One size does not fit all. And this is where I've been frustrated. And I'll say this, you can edit it out or not edit it out. I don't mind. Sometimes I've done some incredible courses with voice artists turned coaches. And I've done some really disappointing and frustrating courses with voice artists turned coaches, because they're brilliant at demonstrating what they're good at, but they can't make that connection to help someone else explore and find that. And that's actually, it can be really tough, if some coaches just demonstrate stuff.
Yeah.
Or they just say you need to do this, but then this person goes, okay, how? And they don't have
I've reached the top of my field, so the next step is to show everyone else how I did it. Whereas coaching is, and I wonder if you can change through life, because now I realize I used to maybe learn things by reading, but then I almost went blind for a while. And then when I started listening more, but then when that was all resolved, I still have to listen. Like I'll mark up a manuscript, but I learn while I'm narrating it. If it's like a nonfiction, like I have to hear it. I listen to podcasts. But I wonder if you can change. You would adjust, wouldn't you? Because people that go blind they sharpen their other senses, right?
It's all about quote unquote survival instinct, isn't it?
Yeah.
And whatever that means. So your survival is not, I need acute hearing to hear that tiger hiding behind a bush. It's, I need to make sure I can read the feckin' words to make my money to, or I need to be able to hear the thing. It's like, so I think it probably all comes down to some kind of primal instinct somewhere. Yeah. And definitely as you get older, all kinds of things change. Maybe your eyesight goes, so your hearing becomes more acute. Maybe your hearing goes, so your eyes are more, useful for you. I think, I don't know the science behind it, but I would imagine there's a lot of adaptation goes on.
But it's a really interesting point you've made, because now that I think about it, and there's so many unbelievable coaches in this field as well, but there is a big difference. You can always tell, and different coaches speak to different people. I mean, you could get lucky but some coaches, they're demonstrating what they've learned, but you have to not just be good at your craft, you have to be good at teaching.
Yeah.
Some really good teachers can teach anything, whether they're practitioners or not, don't you think?
But then, similarly, there are some teachers who are terrible because they either don't care about what they're talking about, or they're not experienced or aware of how you need to adapt the delivery to suit the user or the receiver of that information. I can have two people come to me for exactly the same problem, but the journey we get there to fix it or to change it or explore a different option is completely different. And that's why I love one-to-ones, because it's so different. Like today, who did I work with today? So today I was working with a lady who's in a corporate setting who does lots of different presentations. So every time she comes, we look at the script, we find a way through, basically about making it sound conversational. The next guy was a podcaster. same idea, just different material. So he's a podcaster, and the main body in the middle of the podcast is an interview. So it's really chatty and chill. But his intro and his outro adverts are really clunky and robotic, because he's not talking to anybody else. So he finds it really hard to find that conversational vibe. So working on the same thing, but with two different people, completely different techniques to
you have to have that kind of like the flow and I had a really big lesson because I just did a book. I've got to say this without giving away what the book is, because some things you just can't say until they're out. But it wasn't even for narrators, but it was a series of exercises, and it was for writers. I don't do exercises in courses, which is why I was the accent course dropout. I've never been the homework girl. I've always been the rock up on the day, and because I'm smarter than the average Joe, I can pass the test and fake it, and smile all around. Right? So, but I was forced to do the damn exercises because I had to narrate the book. I'm like so much smarter from actually doing the homework. It really does make a difference, but I guess until you're forced to do it, I still don't know if I could make myself do it in all those courses I buy and pay for. But you have to actually do it, don't you?
Yeah. And that's happened. I've had some people come to me, and I'm very honest with people, and I say, like, I don't take anybody on unless I know I can help them.
Yeah.
I also don't take people on if I don't think they're ready to do the work or in the right place to do the work for one-to-ones. Same with the vocal empowerment program, in fairness, that like if people are like, oh, I'm not really sure, then it's like, well, now it's not the right time. Don't worry about it. But it is about, you have to be ready to do the work. So some people
have to be present.
I'm not in the right place to learn. Or I get people who've done stuff with loads of different coaches, and they come to me and they're like, wow, it's finally dropped. You're amazing. And I'm like, it's not about me. It's not about me. It's about you being in the right place to receive the information. And that changes because of our social situation, our life, our personal life, our hormones, our emotions. Sometimes you're ready and sometimes you're not.
It's that old picking up the old book and suddenly you like it and you don't know why it's been on your shelf for 20 years and you hated it before.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like just the idea that there's a right time to receive everything. And you just got to go with the flow. Like with voice stuff, it won't work if you don't do it. Like, funny enough, the guy I'm working on with podcasting, I was doing the warm-up stuff with him. That's my first approach with nearly everybody, is like looking at warm-ups and making sure it's the right thing for them. And
I still do the warm-ups you gave me. I had one class with Nick, and I still do those warm-ups every single day. I've got to say, I did do that. If I can see the immediate result, I do it. I'm good at that.
Yeah. Well, this guy, absolutely, really skeptical about the warm-up stuff. Couldn't really get him on board with that at all. And, you know, we're 4 sessions in now, and he's like, I'm still not doing the exercises. I'm like, but that's fine. But we're getting to what he needs in a different way. And what he needs is, like he said it today, he said, this is really practical. I can see this working right now. I can see this. I understand this straight away. And probably in our last couple of sessions, when we do the warm-up stuff again, he'll get it this time because he'll trust me and he'll know me. And he'll know that I know what I'm talking about. Sometimes the first thing I do with someone shouldn't be silly, ridiculous faces and tongue exercises. And that's something that I forget. Sometimes, you know, this is a guy from a corporate setting who has this incredible app, and he needs his podcast to sell the app, and he needs his podcast to sound a certain way. He didn't need silly lip trills in session 1. But I know that now, and we've got to where I needed to be in a different way, and we'll recap the other stuff. And I keep saying to him, have you done those exercises? And he goes, no, but, you know, maybe next time.
But I love that it's an engagement, and it's both ways because yeah.
You know, coaching is a two-way relationship for me. So sometimes if I feel like if I'm doing something and it doesn't work, it's my responsibility to change it up, to try something new. That person's come to me, they've trusted me, and I have to make sure they get where they need to be. Now, there's old school coaching values, which is, this is the way I do it and I'm not changing it for the world. You like me or you're going somewhere else. This is me, this is how I coach. If you want
Never had
same,
a
well,
coach.
same costs, you don't get any. Whereas, and I think there's other coaches who are like, okay, that didn't work. That's fine. Let's try this. How do you feel about this? So I think
Yeah.
it's about there's something in it for me that's got to be like two-way, and it's good. Like and I'm sure the coaches you work with are the same. But it's interesting, isn't it? Sometimes what we take from different coaching
Yeah.
experiences. But I think
Yeah.
it's really important as performers, and for me as a coach, I don't know if there's any other coaches in the space. One of the most important things for me as a coach is to always be coaching. Like to always remember what it's like to be on the other side of that, and
Yeah.
to be open and vulnerable to learning and being wrong, and know what it feels like for someone to go, that's not efficient for you. We can do that a bit better, or have you tried this?
It's
Like, so
hard though. It's hard. It's like in theater, you've got a director every single time. So you're always being told off like you're a 5-year-old, no matter what you're doing. But you get out of theater and you're a narrator and you're like, I'm my boss. I'm in my booth. I've got my 6 espressos and no one can tell me anything. Not saying I do
terrifying.
that.
Yeah, and life comes along and kicks you in the ass, and you suddenly
Yeah.
realize your technique isn't what it was. Like I have been having some one-to-ones with various practitioners for different reasons. One is super technical, and one is a bit more holistic and a bit more mindset and open and that kind of thing, to help me through some stuff that has happened with my voice because of some life stuff that came and kicked me in the ass. But like those, my status in those environments is like completely different to my status in the room. And when I'm a coach, and that is a really useful and interesting thing for me to keep experiencing, because it's terrifying. Like it's terrifying to be in that position where they're like, okay, sing that note, do that thing. What do you feel? And you're like, I don't know. What do I feel like? If I say this, is that right? Does it need to be right? What is it like? So, and I like and need to be in those environments because that's what I expect of my clients. So yeah, I find the coaching culture really interesting, because in the US, people have all kind of coaches all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. I
And
love a
yeah,
coach. Make me
yeah,
skinny. My
dehydrated.
foot hurts. Can I get a coach for that?
Yeah, but in the UK, that's not a thing.
Yeah.
Like in the UK, it's like, oh no, well I can do my job. I'm professional. I don't need a coach.
But the
I went to
crazy thing is some of the
job
UK's,
school 30 years ago. I'm fine.
but there's so many experts here that could be like making a fortune coaching. And I find that they still approach it in a very kind of, I don't want to charge too much. It's like, just, you're amazing. Everyone's going to you, charge your, and so you don't want to pay a coach and they go, oh, love, you're gorgeous. You smell amazing. I love you.
Well, maybe I need a little bit of that.
Sometimes, but then I'll pay for a coach that I know is going to just blow smoke up my
But the most terrifying thing about getting coaching as a coach as well is that, like, I'll go and do a course or a new online course or a module or a masterclass, and I'll come out and I'll go, well, everything I thought was a lie. And I feel like sometimes I'll do a new course and it's like, but that's not, but it's oh God, my entire world has been blown apart. So that's one reason I love courses, because I get the new information.
Yeah.
But then sometimes I go to courses and I'm like, it's okay, I'm on the right track. It's nice to know insert dead good practitioner here is also doing similar things. My
And
instincts
also,
are like
it's a balance, but also don't you think knowing when to get coaching and when to stop and assimilate and teach yourself, I think there's a place for that as well.
I'm a big fan of that, and I think that's what I like about the book, because some people have been like, oh yeah, I love that exercise, or I'm reading it, but I can only read it when I can do the exercises. And that's the whole point. It's like my entire remit as a voice coach is trying to, because in the UK, it's almost like voice coaching has been reserved for actors on the stage, or people doing in politics, or people doing TED Talks, or men of the cloth, or people who have important things to say. And my whole thing is, that's bollocks. Everybody has a voice. Everybody's voice can be open and easy and authentic and connected and clear and full of variety and expression. And it's really not that hard. So like my whole thing is, make it as accessible to people in as many different ways. Podcast, downloadable courses that are cheap, book
Audiobook?
that's cheap. Well, we'll see. But
No,
the thing,
wait. Okay, you're
there's
not
a
getting away with that on this call.
QR code. There's a QR code in the back that takes you to videos of me doing all the exercises if you need it.
But
Then
you
I've
should
got like,
do an audiobook. You could narrate it yourself. Who better positioned to narrate it?
no, just
It
it's
would
the
be
time.
amazing. And some of us, or then I'm sure you know lots of actresses in the UK with Irish accents, narrators.
If I'm doing it, if it's getting done, it has to be me
Well, then do it.
because
Couple
it's
of
written
days in
by
a studio, hire one of those places where they'll walk you through and then you don't even have to worry about a thing.
I
They'll
know, but
guide you on it.
then what happens with the audio?
What do you mean what happens with the audio?
Like, where do I put it? I don't do audiobooks, so I like.
You literally, oh my God, there's steps. I'll send you information. And you can either distribute wide or you can distribute just on Audible. You get more money per sale on Audible. Wide, you eventually get more money, but it requires more marketing, but you're not shy of marketing. And it's got to be audiobook because I'm telling you, for those of us like me, once it's on audio, then I can delve into it and live it
Fine,
and refer to it.
fine. I'll
Yeah, and
sort it out.
it's an extra source of like revenue for the audiobook. You're never going to hear the end of us. Now you got all of us on the call and everyone watching. We want the audiobook. Um, I've got another question for you too, but first I've got a quirky question coming in. I think Kim, I think I said it before everyone was on the call. You guys, quirky questions, totally welcome on this one. We had a bad connection, so we had some people join and then some people dropped off and then they came back. So I think the message didn't. But I've got a quirky question. When you read to your child, what is their favorite book and do you do accents and voices?
Yeah. Okay. So, my son is unsurprisingly really into voices. Um, I honestly think it goes back to when he was in the womb. I remember when I was in the womb, I was doing loads of show support accent coaching, and there was one show I did where I had to do like 9 different accents in like 2 days, and I just imagine him in there listening and like hearing all this. And now he's growing up with an Irish mom, dad from Yorkshire, and a nana from Lancashire in on the Cumbria, Northumberland, Scottish borders. So he has got the most insane like cacophony of sound coming his way all the time.
What's his accent like?
I've no idea. It's kind of a bit Northumberland. It's kind of a bit Cumbria because our village literally straddles Cumbria Northumberland border. Anyway, so he loves voices, and we're always doing silly voices, which brings me so much joy. His favorite book for me to read to him that we really engage on voices for is one called The Donut of Doom, and it's about this
Donut of Doom.
Donut of Doom, yeah, and it's about this experiment that goes wrong and this donut gets really big. Anyway, it's a really silly story, but it's about like a reporter and a policeman and stuff. So I was doing all these like kind of 1950s style, like everything's really, really hack American. Like, my name's Nancy McNutty. I was just a trainee reporter trying to make my big way in the world. But suddenly something went wrong. And then it's like, hey, Nancy, are you coming to see the donut? Like, it's all like really like hack American accents. Like, what's happening? Hey, Nancy. Like, it's all kind of a bit New Yorky. And he loves that one. And every time I do a voice, he's like, do that one again, do that one again. So yeah, we have good fun with that one. And I had this awesome idea for a podcast, but I think we're almost past it now. And I've waited too long, but was that like, just recording me reading to him with the voices and him reacting and playing around. And also,
that would have been lovely.
Yeah, just like behind the scenes bedtime stories kind of thing.
Oh, that's lovely. I love that.
Yeah, I sometimes get him because he loves reading and he's got some silly reading age now. He just loves books. And sometimes what I used to do if he wouldn't do his reading was I'd say, do you want to record it? So I'd get him in the booth and sit him with his book. So I've got all these amazing recordings of him like reading different books at different stages of his life. He's not quite focused enough or mature enough to actually do a voiceover job. Like, I don't think I could trust him just yet because he's a real character, as you said.
You know what you reminded me of? Because I have one of my writers, I don't know, she'd heard of this and she did it for her granddaughter. She opened an email account for her granddaughter like when she was growing up, and you could send those. I
Oh,
think that's such a cool idea. And she gave it to like the aunts and the grandmas and everything. And so through his life, but like at like or her life, it was a little girl at like interesting important points, they would send messages and recipes and pictures they wanted her to have. So when she's, I think when she's 18, the grandmother's going to give her the email address and the password
oh.
as a gift. You could send all those recordings of your
I've
little boy reading.
just planned to really, really embarrass him on his 18th birthday, to be honest. Here is the vocal journey. Lots of
With all his
pictures of
friends at the
bottom.
club.
It's just going to be loads of pictures of him showing me his ass at different ages, narrated by himself. You know, a little bit of Julia Donaldson, a little bit of Cat in the Hat, a little bit of but just pictures of him naked in different scenarios. It's going to be beautiful. I'm going to be like, see
I
ya.
love that. I love that.
Right now. Great.
So
But yeah, he does love places.
tell me about your book. Tell me, I mean, I'm in danger of chatting the entire call, and I want to hear, like, is it, so it's just, not just, I mean, it's a combination of, does it include accents as well? Some of the stuff you covered with the
No.
accents.
No, I
Okay.
don't do much accent stuff anymore. I'm on my own intense journey with accent coaching. I'm not hugely having fun. So I've
Really?
paused doing any accent stuff at the moment. Yeah, I'm having a few moral, ethical issues with. Anyway, that's not for now, I don't think.
Okay.
The book is it's called On the Mic: Voice Training for Voiceover Artists, Podcasters, Speakers, and Presenters.
Okay.
Because nearly everybody that comes to me now in some way uses a microphone. So my niche kind of found me, I think, in that way. So it's really the voice training process meets mic technique and
Okay.
different mic scenarios. And it's also it's very much a doing book. It's like a manual or like a handbook, exercises, lots of awareness routines as well. So it talks you through, the chapters are like, you know, how your voice works, then the head, then the body, then the breath, then the sound, then the speech. So the 4-step kind of process that I work through as a coach. And then there's like on mic speaking tips, then there's troubleshooting for, like, you know, all the FAQs I get basically at the back, and it directs you to the page or the exercise that you need in the chapter that you need to piece together the things you need to help you through that problem. And what else is in there? Let me just have a look. I'm really proud of it. It's a doing book. It's very much written how I speak. So there's a bit of Irish swearing in there.
So even the more reason it would be an amazing audiobook.
I know. All right.
It would take you about how long is the book? Like how many pages?
Not that long. Well, I wouldn't read all those references, I assume.
2 days, 3 days in studio,
Yeah,
you'd be done.
238 pages.
Yep. 2 days in studio if you've never done an audiobook, you'd be done.
Oh, there's a massive vocal health as well. So it's all about vocal health stuff, up to date vocal health stuff. Leave your lozenges at the door.
I know, no lozenges and no, you try everything. You know, when you get desperate, you know us, we try everything, like weird apple cider vinegar, ginger pots.
Slippery elm bark, and, you know, Chinese tea and throat coat and all
Like
these
some really gross stuff I've tried.
Yeah, like why bother? Just do a decent warm up, stay hydrated, and get some rest. Like, it's that easy.
Yeah.
But I'm most proud of 2 things.
Okay.
I think. Well, one, I wrote a book. Like, well done me. Like, that's huge for me. Like, I'm really proud of myself.
How long did it take you?
I don't know. 6 months, maybe.
Oh, that's good.
I just knuckled down.
Yeah, that's really good, though. Are you proud? I mean, you're like really proud of yourself. Like, did you have a moment? I've just put my first book out.
Well, like when it arrived in a box, and you've spent so much time in a really annoyingly long Word document.
Yeah.
Like a sea of words, commas, everything just all over, and every time you read it, there's something that's wrong, and you're like, oh my god, and then the formatting was insane. That took hours, and God love the person who formatted it for me. It was back and forth, and like we just sat for hours into the wee smalls, getting it to look right on the page. And then it arrives as a thing.
Yeah.
And it took my breath away a little bit that it was like a thing.
Yeah.
You know?
You created it.
Yeah. Well, me and a few very patient people. But anyway, the reason I'm proud of it is, number one, it's in a font called Dyslexie, which is accessible dyslexic font. I
Oh,
don't
I
know if you
love
can see,
that.
which
I,
is
I'd never heard of that.
an award-winning font to help dyslexic people get their eyes around it.
I love that. I'm going to put that. Will you remind me? I'm going to put that in the about section
Yeah, of course.
because I think that'd be a great thing to have people have access to.
Yeah, there's a little thing at the front because some people are like, "What the hell is this font?" And I'm like, "It's dyslexic. It's a
Yeah,
dyslexic
yeah.
font."
No,
So,
I think that's brilliant. I've never heard of that before.
yeah. Actually, a lot of the people I work with are late diagnosed dyslexic or non-diagnosed dyslexic. You know, from my point of view and my experience in working with people with neurodiversities. So, like, it was important to me that was the focus. Like when we were choosing fonts and they were like, this one's pretty. And I'm like, I don't really care if it's pretty. Like, I just want everyone to be able to read it. Like, why would you ever choose any other font?
Yeah, and
Like,
I mean, if
the
you're a
font?
narrator that's dyslexic, you could take your manuscripts. I mean, I'm assuming anyone that is already knows about it, but you could
Yeah,
convert that, just by that font, convert everything to that font, and your job would become a million times easier.
yeah, it's probably a good hack, you know. And then the other thing I'm really proud of is the images. So until very recently, I could probably name the books that don't do this on one hand, one finger, probably maybe two. Is every image in a voice book to date has been like, and this is no disrespect to this group of humans, but a white male head, a cross section of male head,
You're
male
right.
body on able-bodied male on a chair, right?
Right.
That's basically
Right.
it. So
Right.
my brief to the illustrator was, please can you just make everybody feel a little bit seen? So the images in the book have, I mean, look, I've just opened on this, and this is so subtle, but it's just beautiful. I don't even know if you can see it, but this is illustrating the 4 stages of competency and learning. But look, they've got a
Oh.
prosthetic leg.
Oh, I love that.
Or there's another one which I love as a, hang on a sec, as a
As a mother,
normal,
do you find that children's books are getting better at that now?
yeah, loads better. But look,
Okay.
here's an image of a normal woman's body. You know what I
You're right.
mean?
You never see that. I don't think I know that book that you're talking about that doesn't show.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's
Yeah.
beautiful. Or
Yeah.
there's one of the images. There's this one. I'm just showing you them all now.
And what I love about it is they're not, woohoo, look at us, we're being diverse.
Yeah, just fit, like they just make sense, right? It's lovely.
Yeah.
Like there's one
Like
in
you
here.
wouldn't notice it for a while, and it feels right that you don't notice it because you
Yeah,
shouldn't.
yeah,
Yeah.
and like there's one in here with vitiligo. There's one in here with his legs that are hairy on a potentially female leg. Like you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
loads of little nods to like, you know what?
People.
Normal.
Yeah.
Everyone,
Yeah.
everyone is normal.
I love
Everyone
that.
is. Everybody deserves a place, you know, to be seen. So I'm not saying that to be like, look at me, I'm changing the face of literature. I just mean like, why wouldn't you? You know, like
Right.
why would you?
But that's what I mean by you wouldn't necessarily even notice that. And then you would stop when you did notice it and think, oh, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, yeah,
It's like something's been broken this whole time. And by it not being broken, it should be so normal to us that it's
yeah,
not like a thing. And then by it not being broken, I think we're at the stage that, yeah, we would take a minute and think, oh, wait, I'm used to a broken existence.
Yeah, and that's
you
a
know.
really hard place to sit in sometimes. I know as a like cis white female, I live and walk with, you know, a lot of privilege, but it's only in the last 5 years I've really actually had the been confident enough and mature enough and humble enough to notice what that means for me. Um, and that's, I think we've all done that a lot in the last 3 or 4 years, in fairness, since, various things happened in the world. And it's tough, reading a lot of books about race and representation and all that kind of thing. And it's about like, this is a tiny thing, but it's something I can do
Yeah.
that feels like something, like I can't be somewhere protesting for hours or tying myself to racetracks or whatever, but like, tiny little things. We can only, it starts, I can do little things. I can pick the litter up outside my house. I can make sure my son understands recycling, and I can introduce my son to all the amazing diverse people I have in my life as nor as like a very standard thing. I can do these tiny little, I can make this tiny little decision in this book, and that's what I can do. So like, it's I'm very conscious that I don't want any fucking awards for it. Like, I'm just proud of it. I'm just proud that I was at a place in my career where I didn't feel like I had to conform, or that like I felt like I could have the confidence to just do it a wee bit differently, or to follow like the newest book from Knight Thompson's Speechwork has much more diverse representation in it, and there's a couple of books that have started to go that way. So it's just a little thing.
That's what the gift you're giving with your child and your book. You're giving gifts,
Mm,
You're going to have
yeah.
such a lovely little boy. He
Uh,
is.
I suppose in his own way. He is lovely. He is. He's getting to the
Yeah.
point now, yeah, where he's a bit more empathetic and a bit more, emotionally intelligent. But yeah, he's a feisty cat. They call him a character in school, which is, it's funny that when you said that I was a character, because they're like, oh, he's a character, but better that than a little boy who doesn't say anything.
And the funny thing is, the people calling you a character usually don't mean it as a compliment, but it's the biggest compliment on the face of the earth.
Well, I am who I am, and there's nothing I can do about it. Well, I could, but it would be.
You want to be a character. Chad says, I think it's amazing, impressive to be so concerned and committed to keeping everyone in the loop. And yeah,
Oh,
I agree. So it feels a little bit redundant to ask this question right now after you and I have just unpacked the entire meaning of life.
yeah.
But if you can leave the YouTube audience that's going to be watching this in the next 90 years with one last thought, something, if you want them to take anything away from this call, well, except for also buy the book, it's amazing, but also it should be on audio soon. But if you could leave anything with the YouTube audience, what one thing would you want them to take away from this call?
Oh God. Um, this is going to sound ridiculous when I've spent the entire time talking about voice, but it's not about you at all. It's about the impact that you need to have, or that you want to have, and that's what you need to focus on.
I like that. I like that. I love that. I like that.
Because
Especially,
if you have a genuine desire to inspire or change or question or motivate or make someone buy or make someone listen, whatever it is, and your voice is free and open and warmed up and ready to go, then you don't have to worry about your voice at all. It's not about your voice. It's about who you're trying to impact and how you want to impact them.
yeah, because
So
that informs the energy. Well, that changes the energy behind the voice, doesn't it?
completely. And it's the one thing that I speak to nearly everybody about that comes through my doors. And they go, oh, like everyone approaches me with, I sound a bit, I need to sound more, I don't sound enough. Somebody told me I sound. And I'm like, it's not about that. There's a load of steps to get to the point where it's not about that. But it's the first thing to reflect on is, what is it why are you doing what you're doing? sure, because we're getting paid, but like, who is it that you're trying to reach, and how does your voice serve that? Not how do I make my voice sound a certain way so I can make that person feel a thing. It's like, how do I make the person feel a thing using my voice?
As the tool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Oh, I really love that.
So head to onthemicbook.com, get your copy now. And
I
if you
think
want
that's
to do
brilliant. But
6 weeks of character-filled chaos with me, come and do the vocal empowerment program because it's amazing.
are you going to do another retreat ever?
Yeah, there'll be more retreats in the future. Yeah, for sure.
Not that I like could see myself ever going to retreat. I kind of don't leave the flat much, but it looked amazing. The pictures and everything looked so much fun. It looked like so much fun.
Have a
Okay.
great time.
Links will be in the about section, you guys. This has been a pure joy. Thank you so much for joining us, Nic. I noted, where are the biscuits?
Well, I had an ice cream with my son before he went to Beavers, so I decided, because it's like 10 o'clock now, so I couldn't have a biscuit at this point.
We will need to have you back on again because I'm sorry, the offer of biscuits was made.
Come back. I'll have a whiskey, which sort of sounds like biscuit.
Yeah, not enough. Thank you so much for joining us, Nic. You guys check out the book. Put it in the audio. I'll put all your links and everything in the about section on the mic. I love it. I love it. Not that we're selling anything. It's gorgeous. No, but it is gorgeous. And I don't have a problem sharing things that I believe in. And the amount you back your things up with, the amount of intelligence and knowledge and expertise. And, and I can say this because I signed up for your accent course and I had a session of coaching with you. So I firmly, highly recommend you to anyone that asks.
And I highly recommend coming on Narrator's Cup of Joe.
Thank you so much, Nic. Thank you, guys. You're all fabulous. Bye. Bye.